This is a video to show you how we're going to start our monogram project. First, you're going to have your sketch sitting in front of you. I'm going to have mine here on the screen so I can refer back and forth to it while I show you how to work with your Illustrator file. So when you open Illustrator, you're going to create a new file. We want a letter, 8.5 by 11 file. You can name it first. So name it monogram and your initials. We want it in landscape orientation to start with, so that's 11 wide by 8.5 high. And you don't have to worry about resolution, so you go ahead and create your file. In Illustrator, it's vector-based, it's based on line and shape. You don't have to concern yourself with resolution. I'm going to reduce this so that I can make sure that you see what I'm doing. Okay, so with my sketch sitting where I can see it, I'm going to type in the font that I chose. I chose Arial Black, so I'm going to type my initials. If you have your settings all at the top, you can go ahead and pick your type first. I need to pick Arial Black, and I'm going to go with 72 point to get it large enough to see, and regular is my only option there. I would choose the boldest you can make it, but I'm choosing Arial Black, which is already bold. So I'm going to type my initials, and I'm typing them in all caps, but we've got white here, so I need to make it black. No stroke. You want to make sure that you don't have a stroke on it. It makes it harder to choose your type. And what is going on now? So you type your font. You do not want this big box on it, so I'm going to completely get out of this, delete it, and try that again. So I click and I go LON. I get my selection tool, and the box should be nice and neat and tidy around there, which lets you pull this out. So that's really important, that you don't want that big box around. Okay, so you just want to type your initials. The next step is the most important step to this. So I enlarge it on the page as much as I can. I can even hold shift and pull it. Actually, in Illustrator, you just pull it straight down. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Type and Create Outlines. Once you create outlines, it makes these individual shapes, so it's no longer the font. Okay, and I'm going to go Object and Ungroup, and then I can select each of them, size them. I'm going to size my O down so that my O can kind of sit in here, because if you look, that's what I've done design-wise here. Move my N over. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm trying to work my my letters to act as a unit, okay? And so I just kind of set them in place. But then I'm going to get the direct select tool. It's the white one. I'm going to click right on the edge of a path, and then I can start pulling this up. And this is when you start designing your own letters. So they're no longer the font. It becomes your own designed letter forms. Push that up, so I give it a little thick to thin. Push it in, a little thick to thin. I'm going to angle. Get my other selection tool. I'm going to squish a little bit. Already got it in an angle. And let's see. I'm going to get my direct select tool again, click off, click right on the edge, brings up the anchor points, and that's when you can move your shapes around. So these are the anchor points, and the anchor points are what make your shape, whether it's a font or a graphic shape. And then there are curves on some. So when I click on my O, I get anchor points, and then they have these handles, which is what controls the curves. Okay, so anchor points and handles. So I'm just looking at my sketch. I'm going to end up adding some shapes in here. Pull this back like this, push this up in here to get that thinness here, and then I can pull this out to get a little thickness there. I want to thin this up. And got my basics here. I'm going to end up getting rid of this whole space here and throwing a star in. So I can actually get the pen tool acts as a delete anchor point. So if you hover the pen tool over a point, it will delete them. Now, if you miss it, then it just made a point. So I have to Command Z, get my points selected again. Slow down just a little bit. I'm going to explain these tools to you a little bit better. So you start off, you type your font, whichever font you chose to work with for your sketch. You type it, and then you have to go to type along the top menu and create outlines. What that does is it takes it away from being a font any longer, and it makes it an object. So it makes these individual shapes, and you're able to manipulate them. And you manipulate them with this direct select tool, so the white arrow. But you have to click right on the edge. When you click on the edge, you get your anchor points that come up white. If you click inside, it's going to make it just like a regular selection tool, and then you can't move the individual points. You can only move the whole shape. Okay, so if that happens, you can click off and then click right back on the edge, and then you get it to where your points are able to manipulate. Now, if you want to get rid of a anchor point, which I want to do in here, I click on that edge, I bring them up, and I get my pen tool. The pen tool, when you hover over an anchor point, and you'll see it say anchor point and a minus sign comes up at the edge of your pen tool. When you're right over top of one, you're able to click on it and you delete it. So I can go through and click and delete. Okay. And I want to get rid of that whole shape. Boom. So now I have my solid O. Now, if I were to click on a path with my pen tool, let's see, let me get this selected. Let's get it selected up here at the top. So if I were to click on a path with that pen tool, it turns into a plus, and you're able to add a anchor point to a path. If you need to have handles, so if you want curves to it, my L only has anchor points, no handles. So if I want to add a curve in there, then I click this and it will add handles onto my anchor point, and I'm able to make a curvy line. Okay. Now that's not what I have going on my L there, so I'm going to undo that. What I'm going to do is there is a slight arch, I could say, to it. So I could add a curve over here. So I want to straighten this line, but I could have the top curve. Now if you look, when you first add handles, they manipulate together. So I don't want that to happen. I want this one to be straight and this one to be curved. So I have to hold down the Option tool, and that lets me manipulate one at a time. Okay, so it would let me curve this. Now, I want to get rid of this one, so I just have this slight curve along the top. Okay, so that's the pen tool. Now there's shapes. We're going to add shapes to this. So our shapes are where up here, all the way up here, rectangle tool. So I can add a rectangle here. Okay, and then I can curve it along here. I can pull these, oops. I can make it a little wider. I can make it a little bit longer. And I'm going to have to curve it to go along here. I'm going to compress it a little bit. I can duplicate it. Command C, Command V. Where I have another one, this one. Command C. Click off. Command V. This one I want a little bit thinner. So I do that to it. I can make rectangles and turn them into triangles, so you don't need to leave a shape the way it is. You can manipulate all these shapes also. So I've clicked on the edge with my direct select tool, got this open. I'm going to get that pen tool and select that, and let's see, I've got a big one here, so I'm going to get this. Actually, I'm going to get this one. I'm going to swing it around first. And then I'm going to get this, pull it, click right on the edge. I'm going to pull this down into here. I'm going to add handles. I'll add a handle here. And I'm going to add a handle there. So I'm going to use my options so that I can curve it. I have this curved. I'm going to pull this down some, curve that a little bit more. I'm going to move this shape out this way, and I'm going to pull my handle up here, and I'm going to use option, and I'm going to angle this one in, move that in to have a little bit more dramatic of a line there. So now I'm creating something like this. Okay, pull that out some more. Actually, I can pull this handle up. So the key is just to start playing around with your shapes. All of these shapes can be manipulated. I'm going to show you the star. Draw a star. I can get this, and I can sit and mess with it also. Do whatever I want to it. Okay. With the star tool, let me get star tool, draw one, double click in here, and it'll bring up a menu, and you can choose how many points you want for the next one that you draw. As long as you're in that tool, it's going to keep drawing them, so you get out of the tool to see what you have. Okay, that's all I'm going to show for now, but you'll be getting your drawing, your SketchUp, and you'll type your letters of your monogram in the type style that you chose for your sketch, and you will create outlines, and you'll start manipulating your shapes.